California, Gavin Newsom is throwing almost $1 billion at the homeless crisis in California. The only problem is that the state has already spent almost $25 billion on that particular issue, and they've got nothing to show for it. Joining us now is California Congressman Darrell Issa. Congressman, always great to have you. I want to get your reaction to this. Many would say Gavin Newsom just wastes money. He doesn't even see if there are any kinds of results, and now he's throwing more money at the problem. This is his problem.
When you've got a $72 billion shortfall in a state that theoretically requires a balanced budget, what's another billion? But I will say one thing. Under Gavin's leadership, our homeless have some of the newest tents you could imagine. But the problem is those tents are everywhere, not just in L.A., but in virtually every city in California, and it's growing. Every time he throws more money at the problem, what he actually does is he makes us a more attractive place for homelessness. And the pictures you've got on the screen say it all. It is not sanitary, it is not smart, and it's not sustainable. And yet this has been the action of this governor from day one.
Congressman, it's interesting. Morgan Stanley put out a report saying that if we really are serious about bringing manufacturing back to the U.S., it could be a $10 trillion opportunity for the economy. Some of that includes a report we had just yesterday that in Salton Sea, California, there's a big lithium operation, a big deposit, a big reserve that we're just finding. But I think our question is, how do you realistically do all of this with the red tape and the regulation, especially in your state of California?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. California has made mining operations, even if something as important as lithium, nearly impossible. One of the ways to do it is to preempt the state's secondary authority. There's nothing that inherently in the Environmental Protection Act that should ever give the states the ability, once we've made a decision that something is acceptable, to then second guess it for another year, two, or for forever. And yet that's what happens in California. And you mentioned the lithium deposits in the Salton Sea. What makes it so important for us to mine them is unmined the dust coming out of that ever-drying man-made sea, so to speak, is actually a pollutant. And so if you don't go in there and do it, you actually are creating more environmental problems.
Double reason to get it done, Congressman. I want to ask you about foreign policy as well. We're getting reports that former President Trump has told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that he needs to end the war with Hamas and in Lebanon by January of next year. Now, just tease this out for me, because the former president is the biggest Israeli ally that I know. It seems weird to me that he would be putting down mandates for the Israeli leader. Does that make sense to you?
Well, in some ways it does. Remember that this president has said, win wars, but bring them to peace. And he's done that. The situation where you haven't heard much coming out of Syria in the last 4 years is because they haven't changed the way President Trump left it. Look, our support for Israel is unapologetic, at least on the Trump and ISIS side of the aisle. At the same time, President Trump will get in and he will pull the claws out of Iran. He will pull the money that feeds Hamas and Hezbollah. And so that assurance gives Prime Minister Netanyahu the ability to take an appropriate win in this situation, knowing that Iran will not be able to resupply those entities.
That actually makes a lot of sense, Congressman. Right now, you've got an administration that really isn't helping at all. Congressman Darrell Issa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good stuff.
Thank you.